putting some music on the computer. Okay, here we go. We're gonna get into it. I was about to draw this on. Just about to draw this on. Here we go. Oh, with a little dot. With a little I'll leave this smudge. I'll leave this smudge. You're fine, and I don't mean bow chicka wow wow. Well, thank goodness. I'm never bow chicka wow wow. I'm usually like blah 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 wow wow. Music's going to be too loud though. Okay, thank you very much. Turning that down a little bit. Okay, here we go. Chapter 12, Professor Umbridge. You heard that. Seamus dressed at top speed next morning and left the dormitory before Harry had even put on his socks. Doesn't he think he'll turn into a nutter if he stays in a room with me too long? Asked Harry loudly, as the hem of Seamus's robes whipped out of sight. Don't worry about it, Harry, Dean muttered, hoisting his school bag onto his shoulders. He's just literally did some voice for Dean yesterday and don't remember it again. The music was fine. Okay, putting it back. There it is. Yeah? Okay. But apparently he was unable to say exactly what Seamus was, and after a slightly awkward pause, followed him out of the room. Neville and Ron gave Harry an "it's his problem, not yours" look, but Harry was not too much consoled. How much more of this would he have to take? What's the matter? Asked Hermione 5 minutes later, catching up with Harry and Ron halfway across the common room as they all headed towards breakfast. You look absolutely... For heaven's sake! She was staring at the common room notice board, where a large new sign had been put up. Galleons of galleons! Pocket money failing to keep pace with your outgoings? Like to earn a little extra gold? Contact Fred and George Weasley, Gryffindor Common Room, for simple, part-time, virtually painless jobs. We regret that all work is undertaken at applicant's own risk. Dean isn't the Irish one, yeah, right. They are the limit, said Hermione grimly, taking down the sign, which Fred and George had pinned up over a poster, giving the date of the first Hogsmeade weekend, which was to be in October. We'll have to talk to them, Ron. Ron looked positively alarmed. Why? Because we're prefects, said Hermione, as they climbed out through the portrait hole. It's up to us to stop this kind of thing. Ron said nothing. Harry could tell from his glum expression that the prospect of stopping Fred and George doing exactly what they liked was not one he found inviting. Anyway,
ever.
What?
I said I don't think ever.
No.
I find that inviting ever.
Yeah,
His whole life.
Totally. I don't know if you were ever like a camp counselor or anything like that.
I was a camp counselor.
You were? Okay. So for me, like the best part of that was always, you get to hang out with the kids, have fun, and then when they're like doing something that I would actually do too, doing something that I'd actually do too, but because I'm a counselor, because I'm there to, regulate certain things, I'd be like, I'm speaking against myself.
Yeah. Actually, it's not okay for you to say the F word. 10 push-ups.
Push-up, the punishment of summer camps.
Yeah,
Push-ups.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Anyway, what's up, Harry? Hermione continued, as they walked down a flight of stairs lined with portraits of old witches and wizards, all of whom ignored them, being engrossed in their own conversation. You look really angry about something. Seamus reckons Harry's lying about you-know-who, said Ron succinctly when Harry did not respond. Hermione, who Harry had expected to react angrily on his behalf, sighed. Yes, Lavender thinks so too, she said gloomily. Been having a nice little chat with her about whether or not I'm a lying, attention-seeking prat, have you? Harry said loudly. What the hell? Why is Harry so... He's just talking to Hermione. No, said Hermione calmly. I told her to keep her big fat mouth shut about you, actually. And it would be quite nice if you stopped jumping down our throats, Harry, because in case you haven't noticed, Ron and I are on your side. There was a short pause. Sorry, said Harry in a low voice. That's quite all right, said Hermione with dignity. Then she shook her head. Don't you remember what Dumbledore said at the last the last end-of-term feast? Harry and Ron both looked at her blankly, and Hermione sighed again. About you-know-who. He said his gift for spending discord and enmity is very great. We can fight it only by showing an equally strong bond of friendship and trust. How do you remember stuff like that? Asked Ron, looking at her in admiration. I listen, Ron, said Hermione, with a touch of asperity. Asperity? What is asperity?
I don't know, but it's a little cocky.
Yeah. Make Dean Italian. You remember him that way. You know what? I just might.
Please don't make Dean Italian.
Why not? What other characteristic does he have?
Your Italian accent is bad.
What did you say?
I said your Italian accent is bad.
What? Wait. One more time, Mark. One more time. What was that?
It sounds like bad Luigi and like some like weird New York thing.
Oh, Mark.
Mixed together.
Mark, you know not what you have brought upon yourself. Mark.
Yeah, we should never say that we don't like something because that means you're just gonna do it more.
I have such anger and fury within me. The wrath of my anger will come down on your head when you're sleeping. I will thrash my fists upon thy head.
I'm sure you won't thrash your hit upon the head.
Oh, was that your Italian accent?
That was my impression of your Italian accent.
Oh wow, okay. It's like hearing a mirror. Okay. Let's go. Where were we? I don't even know what they were talking about for a second. Oh yeah. So do I, but I still couldn't tell you exactly what. The point, Hermione pressed on loudly, is that this sort of thing is exactly what Dumbledore was talking about. You know who's only back 2 months, and we've already started fighting among ourselves. And the Sorting Hat's warning was the same. Stand together. Be united. And Harry got it right last night, retorted Ron. If that means we're supposed to get matey with the Slytherins? Fat chance. Well, I think it's a pity we're not trying for a bit of inter-house unity, said Hermione crossly. They had reached the foot of the marble staircase. A line of fourth-year Ravenclaws was crossing the entrance hall. They caught sight of Harry and hurried to form a tighter group, as though frightened he might attack stragglers. Yeah, we really ought to be trying to make friends with people like that, said Harry sarcastically. They followed the Ravenclaws into the great hall, all looking instinctively at the staff table as they entered. Professor Grubbly Plank, what a great name, was chatting to Professor Sinastra, the astronomy teacher. Did we ever get to hear Sinastra's voice?
I don't think so.
I don't think we did. Well, if we get to it, and if there's a voice, if there's an adjective coming up right now, please send it. The picture above green lava lamp. Anyone else see Alfred Hitchcock speaking to Jabba the Hutt? No, it's actually a lion.
Yeah.
And it's a real picture.
It is Alfred Hitchcock.
You
mean it's like a real print?
Oh, no. It's him sitting next to a lion having tea with a lion, right. And it's an actual picture. Yeah. Okay.
There's a mirror there.
They followed the Ravenclaws into the great hall, all looking instinctively at the staff table as they entered. Professor Grubbly Plank was chatting to Professor Sinastra, the astronomy teacher, and Hagrid was once again conspicuous only by his absence.
Conspicuous?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Conspicuous. Hey!
Conspicuous?
That's what I meant. Conspicuous, yeah. Or conspicuous.
Yeah, everybody knows you can say either of that.
The enchanted ceiling above them echoed Harry's mood. It was a miserable, rainy cloud grey. Dumbledore didn't even mention how long that Grubbly Plank woman's staying, he said, as they made their way across to the Gryffindor table. maybe, said Hermione. Oh man, what's happening today? I've accidentally pressed the button here. Maybe, said Hermione thoughtfully. What? Said both Harry and Ron together. Well, maybe he didn't want to draw attention to Hagrid not being here. What do you mean, draw attention to it? Said Ron, half laughing. How could we not notice? Before Hermione could answer, a tall black girl with long braided hair marched up to Harry. Hi, Angela. Hi, she said briskly. Good summer? And without waiting for an answer, listen, I've been made Gryffindor Quidditch captain. Nice one, said Harry, grinning at her. He suspected Angelina's pep talks might be not as long-winded as Oliver Wood's had been, which could only be an improvement. Yeah, well, we need a new keeper now Oliver's left. Tryouts are on Friday at 5 o'clock, and I want the whole team there, all right? Then we can see how the new person will fit in. Okay, said Harry. Angela smiled at him and departed. Party at breakfast. John mispronounced word songs. Yeah, that'd be a great song, Shaylin. I know you're a singer. This probably looks really great, huh? Huh? Can you and Josh make one? Yeah, exactly, Lois. I'm gonna miss Oliver Wood so much. All right, Oliver's just... Oh, he's just gone.
Yeah.
I guess he just graduated. He's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He died.
Huh?
With Cedric.
Right. He was just there, but nobody really cared. I'd forgotten Wood had left, said Hermione vaguely, as she sat down beside Ron and pulled a plate of toast towards her. I suppose that will make quite a difference to the team? Suppose, said Harry, taking the bench opposite. He was a good keeper. Still, it won't hurt to have some new blood, will it? Said Ron. With a whoosh and a clatter, hundreds of owls came soaring in through the upper windows. They descended all over the hall, bringing letters and packages to their owners, and showering the breakfasters with droplets of water. It was clearly raining hard outside. Hedwig was nowhere to be seen, but Harry was hardly surprised. His only correspondent was Sirius, and he doubted Sirius would have anything new to tell him only after 24 hours apart. Hermione, however, had to move her orange juice aside quickly to make way for a large, damp barn owl bearing a sodden Daily Prophet in its beak. What are you still getting that for? Said Harry irritably, thinking of Seamus as Hermione placed a Knut? I'm just going to call it, huh?
Nut?
Yeah, but somebody said they think it's pronounced with a K, so I'm just going to say Knut. Placed a knut in the leather pouch on the owl's leg, and it took off again. I'm not bothering. Load of rubbish. It's best to know what the enemy is saying, said Hermione darkly, and she unfurled the newspaper and disappeared behind it, not emerging until Harry and Ron had finished eating. Canoodle. That's the word. A canoodle. Said Hermione darkly, and she unfurled the newspaper and disappeared behind it, not emerging until Harry and Ron had finished eating. Nothing, she said simply, rolling up the newspaper and laying it down by her plate. Nothing about you or Dumbledore or anything. Professor McGonagall was now moving along the table, handing out timetables. Look at today, groaned Ron. History of magic, double potions, divination and double defense against the dark arts. Binns, Snape, Trelawney, yes, I can't wait, and that Umbridge woman all in one day. I wish Fred and George would hurry up and get those skiving snack boxes sorted. Do mine ears deceive me? Said Fred, arriving with George. What a great entrance. With George and squeezing onto the bench beside Harry. Hogwarts prefects surely don't want to skive off lessons. Look what we've got today, said Ron grumpily, shoving his timetable under Fred's nose. That's the worst Monday I've ever seen. Fair point, little bro, said Fred, scanning the column. You can have a bit of nosebleed nougat. Cheap, if you like. Why is it cheap? Said Ron suspiciously. Because you'll keep bleeding till you shrivel up. We haven't got an antidote yet, said George, helping himself to a kipper. Cheers, said Ron moodily, pocketing his timetable, but I think I'll take the lesson. And speaking of your skiving snack boxes, said Hermione, eyeing Fred and George beadily, you can't advertise for testers on the Gryffindor notice board. Says who? Said George, looking astonished. Says me, said Hermione. And Ron. Leave me out of it, said Ron hastily. Hermione glared at him. Fred and George sniggered. You'll be signing a different tune soon enough, Hermione, said Fred, thickly buttering a crumpet. You're starting your 5th year. You'll be begging us for a snack box before long. And why would starting 5th year mean I want a skiving snack box? Asked Hermione. 5th year owl year, said George. So? So, you've got your exams coming up, haven't you? They'll be keeping your noses so hard to the grindstone, they'll be rubbed raw, said Fred with satisfaction. Oh, that's Fred. Okay, well, this isn't George now. Half our year had minor breakdowns coming up to owls, said George happily. Tears and tantrums. Patricia Stimson kept coming over faint. Kenneth Towler came out in boils, do you remember? Said Fred reminiscently. That's 'cause you put Bulbadox powder in his pajamas, said George. Yeah, said Fred, grinning. I'd forgotten. Hard to keep track sometimes, isn't it, eh? Anyway, it's a nightmare of a year, the 5th, said George. If you care about exam results anyway. Fred and I managed to keep our peckers up somehow. I love these two. They're such brats. I would definitely... Those two would be the people I'd be hanging out with all year. No doubt. No doubt. Like, those would be my buddies. Those would be the guys. I'll tell you something that I did in high school with my buddies in Germany. We would be hanging out, and one of us look around the corner to see if the teacher was approaching, and like if the teacher was coming towards the classroom. We'd run back to our little group of friends. One of us would drop to the floor, and the rest of us would pretend we were beating the crap out of this one person. And then the teacher would come running. He's like, no, what are you doing? And we just like burst out laughing. Like, he's fine. We're just pretending. That's something I did back in the day.
Brutal.
You're Lee Jordan, John. Yeah, pretty much, probably. Yeah, I'm Lee Jordan. I would be Lee Jordan. Who would you hang out with, Mark?
Luna Lovegood.
Why?
She's a fellow space cadet.
You consider yourself a space cadet?
A little, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What makes you a space cadet?
I don't know. Just, similar. I hung out with all the weirdos.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, anybody like Luna.
So Luna, Hermione?
Yeah, I would be friends with Hermione.
Yeah, me too, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, how about you write down what are some things that you did in high school, and which group of people would you be hanging out with from Hogwarts? I think that's a fun question. We sew other people's backpack. Whoa, Fred and George are who you want to hang out with, but Luna's who you actually hang out with. Maybe. I don't know her yet. Maybe. Crushing. I don't know what that means, Evans. Videos. Okay. Where were we? Oh yeah, next page. Here we go. There's like, oh yeah, we managed to get away from the worry about 5th year. Yeah, you got, what was it, 3 owls each, said Ron. Yep, said Fred unconcernedly. But we feel our future lies outside the world of academic achievement. We seriously debated whether we're going to bother coming back for 7th year, said George brightly. Now that we've got... He broke off at a warning look from Harry, who knew George had been about to mention the Triwizard winnings he had given them. Now that we've got our owls, George said hastily. I mean, do we really need newts? We didn't think Mum and Dad could take us leaving school early, not on top of Percy turning out to be the world's biggest prat. We're not going to waste our last year here, though, said Fred, looking affectionately around at the Great Hall. We're going to use it to do a bit of market research, find out exactly what the average Hogwarts student requires from a joke shop, carefully evaluate the results of our research, then produce products to fit the demand.
God, they're so smart.
They are. They're
going to be millionaires.
smart brats. Yeah, smart brats, dude.
They're like, the business savvy is so strong.
Yeah, they're the Mark Zuckerbergs.
You can't breed that.
Mark Zuckerberg was a huge brat.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
You can't make that.
Where are we? Hermione. But where are you going to get the gold to start a joke shop? Hermione asked skeptically. You're going to need all the ingredients and materials. And premises too, I suppose. Harry did not look at the twins. His face felt hot. He deliberately dropped his fork and dived down to retrieve it.
He's so ashamed
I know.
being an investor.
Yeah, totally. He heard Fred say overhead, Ask us no questions and we'll tell you no lies, Hermione. Come on, George. If we get there early, we might be able to sell a few extendable ears before herbology. Harry emerged from under the table to see Fred and George walking away, each carrying a stack of toast.
A stack of toast.
Marauder, I was a nerd, hung out with much every but the popular girls, but I'd probably be with Colin and Dennis. High school. I'm a Hufflepuff, so I'd be hanging out with people not mentioned in these books. Oh, okay, interesting. If I were at Hogwarts in the library with Hermione, yeah, you would be, Lois, you would be the Night Owl nerd. I'm a homeschooler in high school, did nothing, but I would hang out with the Ravenclaws. Chloe, that is amazing. I was a friend in high school that used to write our obituary. She was a weird one. These are fun. What did that mean? Said Hermione, looking from Harry to Ron. Ask us no questions? Does that mean they've already got some gold to start a joke shop? You know, I've been wondering about that, said Ron, his brow furrowed.
Does Ron not even know?
No.
Oh.
No, he just talked to both the twins.
Wow.
They bought me a new set of dress robes this summer, and I couldn't understand where they got the galleons. Harry decided it was time to steer the conversation out of these dangerous waters. Do you reckon it's true this year's going to be really tough, though, because of the exams? Oh, yeah, said Ron. Bound to be, isn't it? Owls are really important. Affect the jobs you can apply for and everything. We got career advice, too. Later this year, Bill told me. So you can choose what newts you want to do next year. Do you know what you want to do after Hogwarts? Harry asked the other two, as they left the Great Hall shortly afterwards and set off towards their History of Magic classroom. Oh, not really, said Ron slowly. Except, well, he looked slightly sheepish. What? Harry urged him. Well, it'd be cool to be an aura, said Ron in an offhand voice. Yeah, it would, said Harry fervently. But they're like the elite, said Ron. You've got to be really good. What about you, Hermione? I don't know, she said. I think I'd like to do something really worthwhile. An aura's worthwhile, said Harry. Yes, it is, but it's not the only worthwhile thing, said Hermione thoughtfully. I mean, if I could take spew further... She is such like a... I could change the world! Which is awesome. Harry and Ron carefully avoided looking at each other. When I was reading these books, I had a crush on her. Hermione? Tree huggers. Enjoy spew with Hermione. Navneet. Yeah. Prank. Our prank was let a small bomb in the classroom, so a smell bomb, not a small bomb. We succeeded, but our teacher thought of better punishment. She locked us in there, so we were the ones with the smell. Also, clever counter to that. Okay. History of Magic was by common consent the most boring subject ever devised by wizard kind. Professor Binns, their ghost teacher, had a wheezy, droning voice, I remember him, that was almost guaranteed to cause severe drowsiness within 10 minutes, 5 in warm weather. He never varied the form of their lessons, but lectured them without pausing while they took notes, or rather gazed sleepily into space. Harry and Ron had so far managed to scrape passes in the subject, only by copying Hermione's notes before exams. She alone seemed able to resist the sporific power of Binns' voice. Today, they suffered an hour and a half's droning on the subject of giant wars. I mean, I guess as boring as his voice would be, I'd be super interested in giant wars. You kidding me?
So yeah, you probably liked history class in school then, right?
You know what? I think I had history in Australia, and then I came into I don't remember history class at all while I was in Germany. Well, I was a very bad student.
Really?
Yeah, I just scraped by every year. I almost had to repeat a class. Like each year in succession, I almost had to repeat the class, but I just scraped through. I was that high school student. Always, I was like in class, disturbing class with my buddies, playing pranks.
God.
I was just a little brat. I was a brat.
I failed a couple classes in high school. Yeah, and I failed one class in university. Yeah.
One class.
One class in university.
Lucky you.
You failed a couple in uni?
Well, okay, so just a short break. I'm going to continue reading. Short break. When I came over to Canada from Germany, I still had to do my 12th grade year, and the system works a bit different. Here you have credits and you can slot your classes in and stuff like that, right? So I took a bunch in high school, and then when I went to university, I didn't know the system very well either, and you'd have to take way less credits than you do in high school, or just in general. So the normal amount was 15, 18 was it's a bit much, but I was like, oh, I like all these classes, I'll take 21. And I had a what do you call it? When you get not a grant in university. What do you call it?
Like a scholarship?
Scholarship. I had a scholarship and everything, right?
Yeah.
And my advisor, he didn't warn me or anything. He was like, it's a bit much, but I think you can do it. Signed off on it. And I was actually really mad because I lost my scholarship because it was just way too much. I was in theater too. I was in orchestra.
I did 19 hours my first semester. And I took on a TA-ship, and I lost my scholarship first.
Oh man, it's so annoying. Yeah, I shouldn't allow the kids to do like that much in the first year. Yeah. 21 credits, yeah, it was way too much. I lost a scholarship, lost so much money from that I could have had for 3 years.
Maybe that's why they tell you to take more than you're able, so that you just are paying them more money.
Well, they get the money either way, right?
Well, my scholarship was Dean's scholarship.
Oh, okay.
University.
Yeah.
So it's their money.
Yeah, maybe that is true. Like, yeah, make him lose it. Okay, let's keep going. A little timeout. Okay, giant wars, which I would love to listen to. Harry heard just enough within the first 10 minutes to appreciate dimly that in another teacher's hands this subject might have been mildly interesting. Mildly interesting? Come on, dude. But then his brain disengaged, and he spent the remaining hour and 20 minutes playing hangman on a corner of his parchment with Ron, while Hermione shot them filthy looks out of the corner of her eye. How would it be, she asked them coldly as they left the classroom for a break, bins drifting away through the blackboard, if I refused to lend you my notes this year? We'd fail our owl, said Ron. If you want that on your conscience, Hermione. Well, you deserve it, she snapped. You don't even try to listen to him, do you? We do try, said Ron. We just haven't got your brains or your memory or your concentration. You're just cleverer than we are. Is it nice to rub it in? Oh, don't give me that rubbish, said Hermione, but she looked slightly mollified as she led the way out into the damp courtyard. In the U.S., 12 credits is considered full-time. Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? 21 credits. I just failed.
It's full-time here, too.
Oh, man. Oh, I'm just back. I'm back at being 20. What age was I then? Like 19 or 20. Just, so angry. A fine misty drizzle was falling, so that people standing in huddles around the edges of the yard looked blurred at the edges. Harry, Ron, and Hermione chose a secluded corner under a heavily dripping balcony, turning up the collars of their robes against the chilly September air, and talking about what Snape was likely to set them in the first lesson of the year. They had got as far as agreeing that it was likely to be something extremely difficult, just to catch them off guard after a 2-month holiday, when somebody walked around the corner towards them. Hello, Harry. It was Cho Chang. Oh, and what was more, she was on her own again. This was most unusual. Cho was almost always surrounded by a gang of giggling girls. Harry remembered the agony of trying to get her by herself, to ask her to the Yule Ball. Hi, said Harry, feeling his face grow hot. At least you're not covered in stink sap this time, he told himself. Cho seemed to be thinking along the same lines. You got that stuff off, then? Yeah, said Harry, trying to grin as though the memory of their last meeting was funny as opposed to mortifying. So, did you, have a good summer? The moment he had said this, he wished he hadn't. Cedric had been Cho's boyfriend. Oh, yeah. And the memory of his death must have affected her holiday almost as badly as it had affected Harry's. Something seemed to taut in her face, but she said, "Oh, it was all right, you know." Is that a Tornadoes badge? Ron demanded suddenly, pointing to the front of Cho's robes, where a sky-blue badge emblazoned with a double gold T was pinned. You don't support them, do you? Yeah, I do, said Cho. Have you always supported them, or just since they started winning the league? Said Ron, in what Harry considered an unnecessarily accusatory tone of voice. And by the way, if there's any adjectives, because Cho didn't speak so much in the last books, if there's any direction, you know, I'm open to some feedback around Cho's voice. Right now, it's pretty generic, but if there's something really specific about her voice, I'm open to it. One of the reasons I was homeschooled in high school is because my situation. My old school was so bad, I was perfectly failing classes in middle school. Yeah. Maybe I should have been homeschooled too. Who knows? I've supported them since I was 6, said Cho coolly. Anyway, see you, Harry. She walked away. Hermione waited until Cho was halfway across the courtyard before rounding on Ron. You are so tactless. What? I only asked her if... Couldn't you tell she wanted to talk to Harry on her own? So? She could have done. I wasn't stopping. Why on earth were you attacking her about her Quidditch team? Attacking? I wasn't attacking her. I was only... Who cares if she supports the Tornadoes? Oh, come on. Half the people you see wearing those badges only brought them last summer. Why? But what does it matter? It means they're not real fans. They're just jumping on the bandwagon. That's the bell, said Harry dully, because Ron and Hermione were bickering too loudly to hear it. They did not stop arguing all the way down to Snape's dungeon.
That's so funny.
What?
Like Hermione's just like fighting for Harry to talk to Cho
by
themselves.
Great wing woman.
Yeah, it's cute.
Oh yeah, she's Scottish. Okay, yes, Scottish. Bam, 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 bam. She doesn't have to be Scottish, but I'll try it out. Clueless Rom. They did not stop arguing all the way down to Snape's dungeon, which gave Harry plenty of time to reflect that between Neville and Ron, he would be lucky ever to have 2 minutes of conversation with Cho that he could look back on without wanting to leave the country. We all know that embarrassment. And yet, he thought, as they joined the queue lining up outside Snape's classroom door, she had chosen to come and talk to him, hadn't she? She had been Cedric's girlfriend. She could easily have hated Harry for coming out of the Triwizard Maze alive when Cedric had died. Yet she was talking to him in a perfectly friendly way, not as though she thought him mad or a liar or in some horrible way responsible for Cedric's death. Yes, she had definitely chosen to come and talk to him, and that made the second time in 2 days. And at this thought, Harry's spirits rose. Even the ominous sound of Snape's dungeon door creaking open did not puncture the small, hopeful bubble that seemed to have swelled in his chest.
Cute.
Yeah. He filed into the classroom behind Ron and Hermione, and followed them to their usual table at the back, where he sat down between Ron and Hermione and ignored the huffy, irritable noises now issuing forth from both of them. I'm going to make this Snape's classroom dark. Settle down, said Snape. Is it actually more green in there? Probably. Since
I feel like maybe,
yeah, but I haven't really fully calculated this one. I mean, I can make it pretty green.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, why not? Let's do this for a while. I want to make a dark green though. This is not what the.
It's shifting.
Yeah, because I got this other thing on. Wait, here we go. There, that's all green. Cool. Okay. Settle down, said Snape coldly, shutting the door behind him. There was no real need for the call to order. The moment the class had heard the door close, quiet had fallen. Why is it shifting? This is weird. Odd. I don't understand. Oh well, I guess we're in shifty mode.
bubbling like a cauldron in the potion.
Well, I guess it will just shift. Who knows? There was no real need for the call to order. The moment the class had heard the door close, quiet had fallen, and all fidgeting stopped. Snape's mere presence was usually enough to ensure a class's silence. "Before we begin today's lesson," said Snape, sweeping over to his desk and staring around at them all, "I think it's appropriate to remind you that next June you will be sitting an important examination, during which you will prove how much you have learned about the composition and use of magical potions, moronic though some of this class undoubtedly are. I expect you to scrape an acceptable in your owl, or suffer my displeasure." His gaze lingered this time on Neville. Gulped.
No, Neville.
"After this year, of course, many of you will cease studying with me," Snape went on. "I take only the very best into my Newt Potions class, which means that some of us will certainly be saying goodbye." His eyes rested on Harry, and his lip curled. Harry glared back. "Do-you-you, woo-woo-woo," feeling a grim pleasure at the idea that he would be able to... Oh, do that again, you fool. I feel like you have a hidden trove of talents.
I do.
A confident hidden trove of talents. Classic grown man threatening children. Gotta love it. Nice, Chicago. But we have another year to go before that happy moment of farewell, said Snape softly. "So, whether or not you are intending to attempt Newt, I advise all of you to concentrate your efforts upon maintaining the high pass level I have come to expect from my owl students. Today we will be mixing a potion that often comes up at ordinary wizarding level. The Draught of Peace, a potion to calm anxiety and soothe agitation." Okay. Okay, that's
What's in it?
An odd one to pick.
How do you make it?
Yeah. yes, please. "Be warned, if you're too heavy-handed with the ingredients, you will put the drinker into a heavy and sometimes irreversible sleep, so you will need to pay close attention to what you are doing." On Harry's left, Hermione sat up a little straighter, expression one of utmost attention. "The ingredients and method," Snoop flicked his wand. By the way, this is Alicia sent us this. Do you have yours?
No, mine's in the other room.
It's pretty awesome. Still, thank you, Alicia. It's so cool. "The ingredients and method," Snoop flicked his wand, "are on the blackboard." They appeared there. "You will find everything you need." He flicked his wand again. "In the store cupboard." The door of the cupboard sprang open. "You have an hour and a half. Start." Just as Harry, Ron, and Hermione had predicted, Snape could hardly have set them a more difficult, fiddly potion. Snape, Severus Snape. I've seen that. Snape, Severus Snape. Dumbledore. Yeah.
Ron Weasley.
For some reason, the light thing isn't working again. I don't know what's... Oh. I don't know. I gotta figure this out. I've been fiddling around with it, and just some stuff just stops working for some reason. So I think there's some minor tick somewhere. Anyway, I'm just gonna keep going. The ingredients had to be added to the cauldron in precisely the right order and quantities. The mixture had to be stirred exactly the right number of times, firstly in clockwise, then in anti-clockwise directions. The heat of the flames on which it was simmering had to be lowered to exactly the right level for a specific number of minutes before the final ingredient was added. "A light silver vapor should now be rising from your potion," called Snape with 10 minutes left to go. Harry, who was sweating profusely, looked desperately around the dungeon. His own cauldron was issuing copious amounts of dark grey steam. Ron's was spitting green sparks. Seamus was feverishly prodding the flames at the base of his cauldron with the tip of his wand as they seemed to be going out. The surface of Hermione's potion, however, was a shimmering mist of silver vapor, and as Snape swept by, he looked down his hooked nose at it without comment, which meant he could find nothing to criticize. At Harry's cauldron, however, Snape stopped and looked down at it with a horrible smirk on his face. "Potter, what is this supposed to be?" The Slytherins at the front of the class all looked up eagerly. They loved hearing Snape taunt Harry. "The draught of peace," said Harry tensely. "Tell me, Potter," said Snape softly, "can you read?" Draco Malfoy laughed. "Yes, I can," said Harry, his fingers clenched tightly around the wand. "Read the third line of the instructions for me, Potter." Harry squinted at the blackboard. It was not easy to make out the instructions through the haze of multicolored steam now filling the dungeon. Add powdered moonstone, stir 3 times counterclockwise, allow to simmer for 7 minutes, then add 2 drops of syrup of hellebore. His heart sank. He had not added syrup of hellebore, but had proceeded straight to the 4th line of the instructions, after allowing his potion to simmer for 7 minutes. Did you do everything on the 3rd line, Potter?" "No," said Harry very quietly. "I beg your pardon." "No," said Harry more loudly. "I forgot the hellebore." "I know you did, Potter. Which means that this mess is utterly worthless. Evanesco." That sounds like an Italian coffee. Evanesco. The contents of Harry's potions vanished. He was left standing foolishly beside an empty cauldron. "Those of you who have managed to read the instructions, fill 1 flagon with a sample of your potion, label it clearly with your name, and bring it up to my desk for testing," said Snoop. "Homework: 12 inches of parchment on the properties of moonstone and its uses in potion making. To be handed in on Thursday." While everyone around him filled their flagons, Harry cleared away his things, seething. His potion had been no worse than Ron's, which was now giving off a foul odor of bad eggs, or Neville's, which had achieved the consistency of just mixed cement, and which Neville was now having to gouge out of his cauldron. Yet it was he, Harry, who would be receiving 0 marks for the day's work. He stuffed his wand back into his bag and slumped down onto his seat, watching everyone else march up to Snape's desk with filled and corked flagons. When at long last the bell rang, Harry was first out to the dungeon, and had already started his lunch by the time Ron and Hermione joined him in the great hall. The ceiling had turned an even murkier gray during the morning. Rain was lashing the high windows. I totally forgot, the Dex cam isn't happening. Oh, I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry, everybody. Let's fix that, shall we? Let's fix that for a second. Okay? Let's make this happen. You can just see the background workings of everything. There we go. There's Dex. You can see him on his back, sleeping away. My bad. That was absolutely my bad. There you go. When at long last the bell rang, Harry was first out of the dungeon and had already started his lunch by the time Ron and Hermione joined him in the great hall. The ceiling had turned an even murkier gray during the morning. Rain was lashing at the high windows. That was really unfair, said Hermione consolingly, sitting down next to Harry and helping herself to shepherd's pie. Your potion wasn't nearly as bad as Goyel's. When he put it in his flagon, the whole thing shattered and set his robes on fire. Yeah, well, said Harry, glowering at his plate. Since when has Snape ever been fair to me? Neither of the others answered. All 3 of them knew that Snape and Harry's mutual enmity had been absolute from the moment Harry had set foot in Hogwarts. I did think he might be a bit better this year, said Hermione in a disappointed voice. I mean, you know. She looked around carefully. There were half a dozen empty seats on either side of them, and nobody was passing the table. Now he's in the order and everything. Poisonous toadstools don't change their spots, said Ron sagely. Anyway, I've always thought Dumbledore was cracked to trust Snape. Where's the evidence he ever really stopped working for you-know-who? I think Dumbledore's probably got plenty of evidence, even if he doesn't share it with you, Ron, snapped Hermione. Oh, shut up, the pair of you, said Harry heavily, as Ron opened his mouth to argue back. Okay, one thing. When Harry was in that world, in that nether world where he fought Voldemort and all his followers were there, Snape was there too, right? Wasn't he?
No, I don't think so.
Can somebody remind me if Snape was there? And if he was, how does he get out of that? You know, how does
I don't think he was.
No,
there.
he was not. No. Okay.
No.
Gotcha.
If it was, Harry would be making that point, and Ron and Hermione would be like, well, yeah, he's a Death Eater.
Yeah, right. Okay. Snape didn't go to the graveyard. Okay, for some reason I thought he was, but okay, good. There were 3 missing. Shut up, both of you. There we go. Hermione and Ron both froze, looking angry and offended. Can't you give it a rest? Said Harry. You're always having a go at each other. It's driving me mad. And abandoning his shepherd's pie, he swung his school bag back over his shoulder and left them sitting there. He walked up the marble staircase 2 steps at a time, past the many students hurrying towards lunch. The anger that had just flared so unexpectedly still blazed inside him, and the vision of Ron and Hermione's shocked faces afforded him a sense of deep satisfaction. Serve them right, he thought. Why can't they give it a rest? Bickering all the time. It's enough to drive anyone up the wall. He passed a large picture of Sir Cadogan, the knight, on a landing. I love this guy. Sir Cadogan drew his sword and brandished it fiercely at Harry, who ignored him. Come back, you scurvy dog! Stand fast and fight! Yelled Sir Cadogan in a muffled voice from behind his visor. But Harry merely walked on, and when Sir Cadogan attempted to follow him by running into a neighboring picture, he was rebuffed by its inhabitant, a large and angry-looking wolfhound. Awesome. Harry spent the rest of the lunch hour sitting alone underneath the trapdoor at the top of North Tower. Consequently, he was the first to ascend the silver ladder that led to Sybil Trelawney's classroom when the bell rang. After potions, divination was Harry's least favorite class, which was due mainly to Professor Trelawney's habit of predicting his premature death every few lessons. A thin woman, heavily draped in shawls and glittering with strings of beads, she always reminded Harry of some kind of insect, with her glasses hugely magnifying her eyes. She was busy putting copies of battered, leather-bound books on each of the spindly little tables with which her room was littered when Harry entered the room. But the light cast by the lamps, covered by scars, and the low-burning, sickly-scented fire was so dim she appeared not to notice him as he took a seat in the shadows. The rest of the class arrived over the next 5 minutes. Ron emerged from the trapdoor, looked around carefully, spotted Harry, and made directly for him, or as directly as he could while having to wend his way between tables, chairs, and overstuffed poofs. I don't have time to check my books right now, so I'm going to keep it deleted out of an abundance of spoiler avoidance. Cool. Thanks, Lois. Lois rocking it. Lois rocking it. Hermione and me have stopped arguing, he said, sitting down beside Harry. Good, grunted Harry. But Hermione says she thinks it would be nice if you stopped taking out your temper on us, said Ron. I'm not... Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. He definitely is. I'm just passing on the message, said Ron, talking over him. But I reckon she's right. It's not our fault how Seamus and Snape treat you. I never said... Good day, said Professor Trelawney in her usually misty, dreamy voice. And Harry broke off, again feeling both annoyed and slightly ashamed of himself.
And welcome back to divination. I have, of course, been following your fortunes most carefully over the holidays, and am delighted to see that you all have returned to Hogwarts safely. As of course, I knew you would. You will find on the tables before you copies of The Dream Oracle by Inago Imago. Dream interpretation is a most important means of divining the future, and one that may very probably be tested in your owl. Not, of course, that I believe examination passes or failures are of the remotest importance when it comes to the sacred art of divination. If you have the seeing eye, certificates and grades matter very little. However, the headmaster likes you to sit the examination, so...
So dumb. This is so dumb. Her voice trailed away delicately, leaving them all in no doubt that Professor Trelawney considered her subject above such sordid matters as examination.
Turn, please, to the introduction and read what Imago has to say on the matter of dream interpretation. Then divide into pairs. Use the dream oracle to interpret each other's most recent dreams. Carry on.
The one good thing to be said for this lesson was that it was not a double period. By the time they had all finished reading the introduction of the book, they had barely 10 minutes left for dream interpretation. At the table next to Harry and Ron, Dean had paired up with Neville, who immediately embarked on a long-winded explanation of a nightmare involving a pair of giant scissors wearing his grandmother's best hat.
All of his crazy things are like in his grandma's clothes.
Totally. Harry and Ron merely looked at each other glumly. Interpretate. Trelawney reminds me a bit of my high school teacher who wore caftans, made us do sun salutations, and would lecture us about random topics instead of letting us work. I never remember my dreams, said Ron. You say one. You must remember one of them, said Harry impatiently. He was not going to share his dreams with anyone. He knew perfectly well what his regular nightmare about a graveyard meant. He did not need Ron or Professor Trelawney or the stupid dream oracle to tell him. Well, I dreamed I was playing Quidditch the other night, said Ron, screwing up his face in an effort to remember. What do you reckon that means? Probably that you're going to be eaten by a giant marshmallow or something, said Ron, turning the pages of the dream oracle without interest. It was very dull work looking up bits and pieces in the oracle, and Harry was not cheered up when Professor Trelawney set them the task of keeping a dream diary for a month as homework. When the bell went, he and Ron led the way back down the ladder, Ron grumbling loudly. What happened? You probably didn't hear that, but something like fell, but there's nothing that can fall.
Ghosts.
That was really weird.
Ghosts.
Well, it's 6:58. I'll end there. Leave some time for questions. I know I was looking forward to getting to Umbridge, but we're not going to get there. And I'm also invited for dinner at my friend's place with their family. So I'm looking forward to that. I need to get there in time. But let's have some time for questions and interaction here. I read somewhere that Ron and Harry's fake dreams from the last book. Is that the last book in the series? I'm not going to read that. Sorry, because I don't know if that's.
No, I think the last book that we read.
Okay, good. Okay, and she'd been. That's magic, John. That went by so fast. Yeah, it did actually. Today went by pretty fast. Yeah. Sir Cadogan and Trelawney. Yeah, we got both of them in this book. Not a lot of them, but we got them. We got them in there. Not a spoiler. Totally fine. Okay, awesome. It's not when book 4. Ah, okay. Gotcha. Thank you very much. Yeah, it feels like I'm looking forward to finding out more about this Umbridge character. I don't know what she's going to be all about. Yeah, it's going to be. She seems so sickly sweet. What job would you want to have in the wizarding world? Something has to do with action. You know, none of the diplomatic or the office jobs, that wouldn't be anything for me. So maybe an aura. That'd be cool. What would you pick?
I feel like I would probably be really into potions.
Oh yeah, you said that.
So I'd probably make a potion.
I could totally see that.
Be a potions master or something.
You'd be super into potions.
Yeah.
Herbology?
Maybe.
A little bit.
Maybe, yeah. Definitely enough herbology to get me through the potion stuff.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. How will the golden trifecta handle Eamstes? Well, Eamstes is such an interesting character. Eamstes is gonna just...
Who is Eamstes?
Well, just read the question.
What is Eamstes, Jenny?
I don't know what that is. What would be your favorite subject? It would be the horrible creatures. What do you call that? The creatures class with Hagrid, for sure. Which subjects would you apply to? Yeah, well, I think herbology would maybe be fun. Maybe. I don't know. Probably not. But the horrible creatures one. What else? I don't know. I can't remember the classes very well. If a different teacher did the history class, it would apply to that one for sure. I will not work in the Wizarding World. Sorry, Wizarding World is boring. I love internet too much. I want to make wands. How cool that would be pretty cool, actually, making wands.
That would be cool.
Oh, exam stress. Exam stress. How will the golden trifecta handle exam stress? Hermione is going to get a... here's my... Wait, 1 second. I think that Hermione will get some bad grade somewhere. She'd stress out and say, I'm not doing this work anymore for both of you. The both of them will get a bit pissed at that. Ron will fail something completely. And as a not a precursor, what do you call him? Not a I keep forgetting the words for all these different the thing that Ron and Hermione are now. Presate? No, what do you call him?
Prefect.
Prefect.
Presate?
I don't know. I can't remember the word. He's gonna fail something, and Harry's gonna do just fine. Do you think Harry has what it takes to pass his potions exam? Yes, but Snape's not gonna let him through, and then Dumbledore's gonna step in. When you end Harry Potter, you should watch Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I will indeed. I will read that, and I'll also read the script, the latest one. And there's been different opinions. Some people love it, some people hate it, but I'm gonna do that too. I should read Harry Potter fanfics after. Maybe I'll do 1 or 2 sessions of reading Harry Potter fanfics. That might be fun. Okay, unless there's any other questions, I hope you all have a fantastic evening. I will see you tomorrow again at 6 o'clock. Oh, and here's the thing. I'm going to be creating a Discord for those of you, a Discord channel for us. For those of you who don't know what Discord is, just think back to forums you constantly visited in the 90s or early 2000s of groups of different different topics. It's like your own kind of chat and also forum. You can do different topics. So if for example, if you want to discuss any spoilers or something, you can have your own spoiler channel in the group where you can discuss those things. I know people have said, oh, we'd like to talk about this or that. So I'm going to create one of those, probably have it ready by tomorrow, if not the latest on Monday, so that you can... And one of the biggest reasons why I created this is for days when suddenly I can't stream or something goes wrong, or I might have some kind of gig and I want to notify everybody, but I can't do it any other way except for my Instagram. But on Instagram, people are following you don't do necessarily the Harry Potter thing. I will notify people there. Right? So I can give you updates on there about what's happening here. So, but then we can also have a different kind of community and discussion on there. So that's what I'll do. Just check out Discord. It's very easy to use. It's not complicated at all. Okay. Tomorrow we have another reading. Yes, tomorrow. Tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Same thing. Monday to Friday. Just not Saturday and Sunday. Okay, everybody. We will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. You are loved. You have value. You have meaning. And have a wonderful evening. See you later, everybody. Bye-bye.